Welcome to the Blooming League of Original Podcasts.
G'day and welcome to Thrash and Treasure, the torture chamber musical comedy podcast that's a little bit chess, crossbred with a little bit of Megadeth. Speaking of bitches, I'm Aaron, and I'm joined as usual by this dude from Team Metal. He's one of many headbangers keeping chiropractors in business. Welcome to the show, Evan. How you doing?
G'day, how you going?
Yeah, pretty good, thanks. How was your week?
Oh God, busy as hell, as usual. We got everything going on. Just, rent inspections, got kids doing driving lessons. Oh, that's what I was going to tell you. We had 2 flat tyres in the space of 3 hours. Yeah, on a Sunday afternoon.
You can have a Sunday afternoon stroll. So there you go. But anyways, guess what?
What?
We have another diva in the studio today, and I'm so excited I've whipped out the golden dinner plates just for the occasion. Our next guest is a thrilling talent down under and over, plus a self-proclaimed go-to guy for roles of colour, which is proven by his appearances in Blue Healers, Grey Gardens, Mr. Black, White Rabbit, Red Rabbit, the hit show Wilfred, as well as playing Otis Redding, which is perfect since his name literally means Bert, the Streaks of Colour. But on the other side of the rainbow, this electrifying entertainer is actually the go-to guy when you want the roof sung off your theatre in a religious experience, given that he crucified the UK in JC Superstar, was our salvation in Guys and Dolls, blessed our reigns in today's chosen musical, and guided us to church in the 25th annual long-named musical, which paved his path to a profusion of premiere productions, which thankfully meant this McDreamy McDoctor was on call to cheer us up in the Australian premiere production of the most happy musical, Next to Normal, where yet again his volcanic vocals left me saying, "That bitch." And thus, with countless appearances on stage and screen, he remains our most captivating, our most extraordinary, and certainly our most go-to guy in Aussie theatre. So please give a warm g'day to the star of Pirate Islands, the lost treasure of Fiji, who's here today to get lost in some thrash, not treasure. He's an officer, a gentleman, and a scholar. He's also the incredible Bert La Bonté. Welcome to the torture chamber.
That's extraordinary. You have pulled some of the oldest shit I've ever done out of there as well. That's really great.
Yes, we are. We do some deep cuts here.
There's some archival footage in that.
Yes.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. It's lovely to be here. It's a lovely introduction. Yes, I am a bitch and a diva.
Oh, that voice, I tell you what, I think I even told you once. I met you outside the art center and I walked up to you and I said, "You're Bert La Bonté, yes?" And you said yes. And I said, "That voice, man, shit." And I walked away. So if you remember some guy coming up to you saying that, I think I had a mohawk at the time.
Oh, right, okay. Look, I have a vague recollection of a meeting with a bloke in a mohawk. So that was you.
That was me.
Was it next to normal?
I think I was saying Camelot.
Right. No, so it was normal.
And I'd seen you the year before or 2 years before in Putnam County. And
Spelling bee, yes.
Holy shit, that voice. Really. And we were only a few rows from the front. So I left there without any hair because you blew it away.
Oh,
seriously,
thanks.
like that is some absolute power, which I have to ask, since it's so powerful, have you ever shattered a window or a wine glass?
No windows. No, I've had a crack at a wine. I tried. When you try and scream at something, and
I was going to say, have you had a go?
Yeah, I had a go at a wine glass. One of those really thin crystal ones. I couldn't get it to do anything. I just ended up just drinking the contents. I think maybe it needs to be empty. And I wasn't going again because I'd fucking blown the voice out by the time I tried to do that. So
I think it does need to be empty. Yeah,
it does. Yeah, right. Yeah. I'll have another crack. No, I think it's done now. I think those years are done of blowing people's minds. I'm into more of the gentler singing. I still go hard when I have to, but I try not to blow it as much as I used to.
Yeah,
just hard work. It's just too hard. It's just no one needs to hear that anymore. Those days are gone.
it sounds like it takes a lot out of you, I tell you that. But you might not have shattered a wine glass, but you certainly shattered some spirits along the way.
Oh, thanks, man. That's a very nice thing to say.
It is an absolute honor to have you on. I'm in the luckiest position. I've had all these idols of mine coming on this ridiculous concept of a show.
Well, you ask, and people, generally people are happy to do things like this. So that's great, mate.
I think they feel sorry.
No, I had a look at the podcast. It's great. You guys do it's a great little unit of a show you put together. It's fantastic. So why not?
Thank you.
And it's fun. Like we get to review a metal album, which I can't say I know that much about.
Well, that answers that. I was about to ask, have you had much experience with metal? So
no, look, I grew up in the late 80s, 90s was my kind of formative years of music as a preteen teen, and I was very much kind of on the R&B sort of hip hop side of things, and my metal would have extended to Faith No More, a bit of Nine Inch Nails when I got to university. Yeah, I do like, and I love those bands, Trent Reznor and stuff like that. And before that, it was like all that pop metal that no one really cares. I mean, Metallica, I like Metallica as well, which I know is still, it's on the softer side of things. That was about it, really, for me.
It's funny you mentioned 90s hip hop. Right before you came into the call, I was kind of almost singing. I was quoting Rex and Effects, Rum Shaker.
Oh, Rum Shaker.
Yeah, because that's still a classic and still on my playlist. So for some reason, it keeps disappearing from Spotify whenever it's on like a certain album. It gets taken off, so I have to keep adding it to my playlist. That one song.
Is it because of the content? It can't be because of the content. There's worse content out there.
I have no idea.
Doja Cat's writing everything under the sun these days. There's no way.
That's
Rex
it.
and Effects could be offensive.
No, you wouldn't think so. I mean,
I think after WAP can come out, like anything goes. Anything. It does not matter.
That's exactly right. If Cardi B and Doja Cat are okay, then I'm pretty sure Rex and Effects is okay.
Yeah. So that's how much I know modern rap. I know Rex and Effects, but not Cardi B. Anyway, we'll move on to metal. So this week, Evan, you chose the metal album. Would you like to tell our listeners what you have chosen for us to endure?
Well, it has many names, but yeah, it's the 1992 Ministry album, Psalm 69, or what is it? The Way to Succeed, or Not to Suck Eggs, or How to Suck It. Hang on, I have to do that again.
I don't know. It come up with.
It's got a weird ass name that I can't pronounce.
KEAH.
Yeah, and there's an alpha logo, and I don't know what they're going for. I did mean to do the research on that, like where that title came from, but generally people call it Psalm 69 or The Way to Succeed and The Way to Suck Eggs, which again was 1992. This is before Nine Inch Nails came out with the Downward Spiral, so it's pioneering industrial really. And yes, I freaking love this album.
Yeah, well, I'll read my review quickly.
Now, you tear it to shreds, and I'll tell you why you're wrong.
Well, I might have loved it.
I highly doubt it.
You have as much faith in me as your brother.
I doubt you would love this.
Anyways, would you like to hear my review?
Of course we would. Fire away.
Of course you would. All right. When I first saw the cover, I wondered if I was about to get touched by an angel. So I pressed play, only to find myself being kicked by a demon. And not the hunky Melbourne kind in short shorts. As this Ministry of Sounds continues, I found this 1992 effort to be rather odd, which is surprising since 1992 was the year I decided to wear dresses and play the evil queens or witches in little fairy tale plays we'd perform in the classroom, kicking off a decade of violence and trauma. As for this album, it certainly was no fairy tale. What is their childhood trauma? I guess it's not all bad, so I've decided to list some pros and cons. Pro, now I know what it'd feel like for a wasp to lay eggs in my ears. Con, not once while listening to this album did a wasp lay eggs in my ears. Pro, it ended. Con, it started. Pro, I can now hear dog whistles. Con, I don't own a dog, no matter how many times I write a puppy on the weekly shopping list. Overall, I just, I don't know what this is. Is this metal music or actual metal being repeatedly banged with wooden spoons? I just don't get it. I thought you were meant to be the nice brother, Evan. It's just, 1 star, and I don't even know why. What the fuck was this album? It was just the same sound over and over and over and over again. We have the Ministry of Sound. Yes, this was just the Ministry of Sounds. That's all it was. Like, was there any sense? What is good about this album? Sorry.
That's all you heard was just a big wall of noise coming at you.
Yes, constantly for 2 weeks that I've been listening to this album and loudly watching the Olympics, watching people fall over while the sound effects played for them from this album, which was very comical in that respect. But in terms of music, what?
Well, like I said, they've got many names.
This was not for me.
I didn't think. I thought it was about time there was a good, growly metal album in the truest sense of the word. Not, there's been so many albums that have been, 80s, Iron Maiden, that kind of stuff.
And they've been fun. They've been really campy and fun, and this
is proper metal. This is metal.
Yeah.
This is the precursor to a lot of thrash and a lot of
trauma. A lot of problems in the world by the looks of it.
Again, it's pre-death metal, it's pre-black metal.
It was creative. I appreciated that.
Yeah, okay. For me personally, this album is more a moment in time. It's one of those albums that, you remember where you were the first time you heard it. And I remember this one quite vividly. 1995, Perth Big Day Out, Fremantle Oval. Primal Scream was just finishing up their set. And we were walking out in the middle of the Oval somewhere, going to get something to eat. And just this massive wall of sound comes from the main stage. And everyone stopped and turned and sort of went, what the hell is that? And it was Ministry opening up with Just One Fix. And we all made a beeline for the main stage, just going, what is that amazing sound? The Ministry are quite notorious for exceeding the decibel limits that the local council set, and they certainly didn't give a shit that day either.
Well, that I appreciate.
They tore the stage to pieces, blew everyone else away with an incredible performance, and I've been a fan ever since.
Cool. Look, I appreciated the creativity that they're experimental.
Yeah.
That was the one stuff. Sorry, you go.
And about a year ago, I was driving home and heard an interview on Triple J, and I'm pretty sure it was to do with the Big Day Out podcast. And there was an interview with Al Jorgensen, and he was asked what his best gig of all time was. And he goes, Perth, Big Day Out, 1995, Fremantle Oval, sun was just setting, everyone just sounded incredible, I remember it vividly, to be at that gig. It was incredible. So that's why I love Ministry. I saw them live and just fell in love with just the brutal wall of sound that came from the front. They are a funny group in which Al Jorgensen and Paul Barker early on, they don't really play as a band. They construct their albums in the studio. It's a lot of samples, loops, drum machines, synthesizers, sequences, and literally physically cutting up pieces of tape and joining them back together, early forms of like film editing. They would do it with audio. And there's all sorts of crazy ass sound manipulation. And then they would have to sit there and, learn how to play it as a band and then go tour it. So yeah, their albums are way ahead of their time in terms of, like I said, this is late 80s and early 90s, and they've cobbled together some computer, some personal PC. This is nearly Commodore 64 days.
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
And they're using computers to mix.
Where are they from? Are they Australian?
LA.
I was going to say they sound like an American kind of metal band,
but it's mainly Al Jorgensen and Paul Barker will just sit in a studio and just construct things from scratch.
Yeah, it felt like it was it felt like that kind of music. It didn't seem to have a particular structure at any given time, but it was like when it started, it just kind of it goes, and then TV2, no fucking idea what that was. Like, just not sure.
But yeah.
Not sure what that was. I was just like, what's going on here? And then it goes into Just One Fix. Now, I dug Just One Fix. I love that driving kind of guitar. I love that kind of... If I'm going to listen to it, I want that driving guitar like, the whole time. And even the whole... Like, it had, I'm story-based. So it had this story about, obviously, in Just One Fix, it's a drug kind of reference and whatnot. But, like, even the drive through the song, I was like, this is great. And then it kicked on again, and then it kicked on to Hero, which kind of, was that what it?
Yeah, I think so, yep.
And that, I don't know, that felt real. I loved Spiderbait, so it had a real Spiderbait feel for me.
Yeah.
I just, that was my kind of, it was one of the bands I loved through the 90s, going to university.
Yes, huge Spiderbait fan.
And I got a real sort of Spiderbait feel from that song. And then what was that song in between? They did this real, not slow, well, it's like a ballad for them, but it's, what the fuck was it called?
Like the Scarecrow, or...
No, it's not the Scarecrow. It was
or Psalm 69 itself. See, the first half of the album starts off very, it's very fast and gets faster and faster, and then they go into more ballads, I guess. Yeah.
Well, it kind of let me off the hook a bit. I missed the driving guitar in that one song that slowed down the guts of the album. I was like,
Yeah.
don't do that. You don't need to do that. For me, this is personal. I was like,
Yeah.
you don't need to do that. You're better off just driving the whole way. And then Jesus Built. I love the opening, the opening gamut of Jesus Built. That's like, what is it? Ding-a-ling long, my ding-a-ling long, my ding-a-long.
My ding-a-ling-a-lang long. Something like that, yeah.
Ding-a-ling-a-lang long.
Yeah.
No idea what he's talking, but it's fucking glorious.
Yeah. Apparently he was drunk out of his mind and just going, blah, 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 you know.
And that's the main lyric, isn't it?
Yes.
He just sings ding-a-ling-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. I'm like, yeah, why not? If you got a good riff, just sing whatever words.
And the interesting thing about that song is the drum signature is different, timing signature is different than the guitar. Like, this is where they've constructed it in the studio and just played something that would be damn near impossible off the top of your head.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you know who does that a bit now is Gang of Youths do that a bit now. The drummer uses a completely different time signature to the rest of the sort of rhythm section, and then they put it, and you kind of sitting there going for a minute, working out where the song sits, and then it kicks in, and his vocals kind of hold the similar signature to the drums, but maybe half the time, if you know what I mean. Quite clever.
Isn't that Sondheim? That's the Sondheim of rock.
The Sondheim of rock. He probably is, mate. He's such a storyteller. I loved Scarecrow had a real Faith No More sort of feel for me. It just. Yep. I got a real sense of that kind of. I would have loved the piano in there. I know it sounds weird, but I just would have loved the piano in there.
No, not at all. We've had some weird instruments in these albums.
And Psalm 69 felt like a fucking theatre piece.
Yeah.
It was so theatrical. Like it was so. I know it's got kind of all those biblical references and whatnot, but it's just kind of. It just felt like this huge. They were trying to make this epic, but it didn't quite fucking get there.
No.
It just felt like it didn't quite get there, and then I kind of dropped out a little bit. And Grace, because I'm a massive Jeff Buckley fan. I couldn't listen to it. I was like, what the fuck is this? What an obscene way to use the title of Grace.
Yeah.
I'm so upset.
I have this problem too with all these songs that they're named after other songs I know.
But I've got to say, there's a bunch of songs on here that I quite dug. I sort of got into. I was like, if this was my game, I'd be like, oh yeah, I get what they're doing here. I get where they're going. I could be completely off the mark of what they were actually trying to achieve. But to my ear, I didn't mind it.
Yeah. I felt like they were the Blue Man Group of metal. That's what their music come across as, the Blue Man Group. Like it was just weird and experimental and without sort of some linear structure, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
There was none. And I think that's maybe why it did sort of great on me. And I've gone through a lot of metal albums in this journey. So I should be a little bit more open-minded than I am. I realized that.
I think it's fantastic that you guys are educating each other on your chosen. I think it's brilliant. I'm a bit like Evan. I'm not a massive musical theatre fan.
Aren't you?
No.
Oh, there you go.
I know the shows that I've been in, and that's about it.
You've been in enough of them.
Yeah, F. Michael Haney from Broadway, he's like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it was too repetitious for me, which I know in musical theatre we have running motifs and we have choruses that repeat themselves. And, in Rent, there's the Christmas bell is a ringing that plays all the way through, stuff like that. But I just think, because I've heard so many darker albums that are still so good, like the Faith No More album that we did was fantastic. I think that I gave that 5 stars because there was a running theme through it that I felt like it could have been a concept recording for a musical. Whereas this one, I sort of felt like it was a little bit directional. It's like they were just on a lot of drugs, just banging around in the studio. And I don't know, I couldn't see what Evan saw in it, but I do appreciate that he sees that in it because it is something so incredibly weird and not linear. So I support you in liking it, Evan.
Well, like I said, it was probably, again, this is 92, so there's no internet. Triple J weren't playing them. I think Just One Fix I saw on Rage once, and again, you're referencing, it's a drug. If you watch the videos, it, tells the story of, 2 kids, just trying to score, just trying to get somewhere to have it.
Yeah, right.
I think the video was possibly banned in certain states just
probably.
because it depicted drug use. So realistically, he is a very political figure. He's got something to say about everything. A very opinionated singer, and it shows a lot in the music as well. But yeah, it was more just that I saw them, I knew of them, but didn't know much about them. And unless you actually hang out at the record shops at the time or listen to, 3 Hours of Power on Triple J would probably cover it at some point. They're one of those bands that it was word of mouth. And, you were sort of in the in crowd if you knew them and managed to order an album online, not even online, but, having to request a record shop to bring it in because they don't even stock it on the freaking shelves. So, like I said, just seeing them live just converted me. And I just went, this is incredible. What they're doing up there is absolutely fantastic. And yeah, we were all just blown away, basically.
Often that's the way when you see a band live first, before you hear their recorded stuff, you just go, you actually, it almost puts into context what they're doing on the album when you see them do it live and you go, okay, I understand what this is. So it's really helpful. Some of the best experiences you have are when you discover a band before you hear them on the radio, you discover them live and you're like, oh, I'm going to follow this band from now on. And you forgive them for their sins as well. Do you know what I mean? If there's stuff you don't like, you go, no, I know what they do. I know what they're trying to do and they nearly got that.
Yeah, or it's like, oh, you just don't listen to track 8. That's fine,
That's right, yeah, or you skip. There's always albums. There's plenty of albums where you've got songs you don't like, you skip over them. There's tons of those.
For me, it's the ballads because I'm single. Anyways.
You are a child of the 80s and 90s, aren't you? There's not many albums where they just have the ballad in the middle anymore.
Yeah, I know. Well, funnily enough, I've got some comments about that when we get to Book of Mormon. But it appears that the ministry is unsound. So what would overall, Bert, would you give it a score?
Yeah, I'd go out of 10. I would give it. You go out of 5 or out of 10?
Whatever you want.
You go 5 stars, do you? Okay. I would give it 3 stars. I would say there was enough in there to keep me interested and to keep me like. There's a couple of times I skipped maybe 3 of the songs. I skipped through after I listened to the first, and then the rest of them I listened to the end. And I figure if you've got me listening to a song to the end, I mean, there are albums of some of my favorite artists where I'll skip through their songs. So they're like. That's 3 stars. I'll give that 3 stars.
Nice. I'll take that. That's nothing wrong with that.
I have pretty eclectic taste, so not a lot really. There's not a lot I can't listen to. The only stuff I can't listen to when it comes to metal is the I don't know what you call it, but it's the where they do the vocal the
unclean, yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, there is a fair bit of that in this, to a point.
It's not as much as it is now these days. I feel like the bands that do it now, there's a lot more of that. This had some instrumental moments where I'm like, oh yeah, this is just going to be instrumental, and there's just a few lines burst in here and there, and you're like, I can cope with that. When it's just screaming the whole time, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're saying. B, I don't even think you do, and like I can't listen to it. Whereas that, it was okay. That doesn't bother me so much. I also think that that's an art form that's quite extraordinary to be able to pull off. Mm-hmm. Like as a singer, I'm like, how are you doing that constantly? I actually think it's extraordinary. I kind of go, that's extraordinary. People are like, I hate that. I'm like, yeah, but how hard would it fucking be? It's really good.
Oh yeah, to growl like that constant. Yeah, for a 2-hour show.
It's like I know they've got some enhancers and stuff on their mics, but you still have to do it. You still got to get yourself to the point where you can
growl
and do it successfully for 2 hours and then go on tour and do it every second night.
Yeah.
It's fucking hardcore. Like so,
Yeah, well, so I think that's the difference with something like Ministry is he is singing normally and there's a lot of effects on the vocals, so you can pick out the lyrics and hear what he's saying, whereas you're referencing more your black metal, death metal now, where they are growling at their voice and you can't understand what the hell they're saying.
I think they're asking for a hug
from their mums.
But yes, anyways, we'll move on because as I say, I think the metal has finished up with that. I don't know. I used my pun up, didn't I? The ministry is unsound. So we'll throw to a quick ad break and we'll be back in a moment with Bert La Bonté.
Coming this summer, winter, spring, or fall, the first ever musical theater sitcom, where you go behind the scenes of the latest West End show, the Fosse Forest Ballet.
Where's the important stuff? Aha! £1,000 a week ensemble rate. Ah, that's what Mamma Mia likes.
Starring Philip Joel and a West End cast featuring Carrie Ellis, Darren Day, Louise Demon, and Oliver Saville, and more.
It all started in 1987 when I was a jobbing actress working in a diner.
Yeah, it's just I had a really bad experience when I was touring Australia with a wombat.
Darling! Mwah, mwah.
La, la.
How long have I been mentoring you? 3 months?
2 years.
So her name is Henrietta.
The horse. Yes. I've managed to secure you an audition for the biggest, most innovative, and the latest show to be going into the West End. Joseph and his Technicolor Dreamcoat. Think more along the lines of Panther.
Frozen.
You can watch this episode for the price of a coffee. Simply go to www.thefussyforestbelly.com. Any and all profits go back to theatre charities, acting for others, and the theatre's trust. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and you'll see a grown man in sparkly tights.
Tight nights. Nice. Tights.
And we're back with Thrash and Treasure. I'm Aaron, that's Evan, and we're here with Bert La Bonté, the greatest voice in Australian theatre. I'm going to say it there.
Oh, no, I wouldn't. You might have to edit that bit out there, my friend.
No, people know, anyone who listens to this show knows that I'm feisty and will fight my point if I know I'm right about something. But it's funny because your Twitter bio says that you're the go-to guy for roles of colour. Hey, it's Aaron here. Before you listen to this next part, I make a huge mistake. Just bear with me. Listen to the thing. Hopefully you'll get a giggle out of my idiocy, my scatterbrainness. And I will explain at the end of it what my mistake was. Anyways, enjoy. In French, Bonté actually means streaks of colour. So it is literally your name.
Bonté means goodness, doesn't it?
No, variegated, which is streaks of colour. So
He's frantically Googling.
Oh, you might have the accent going the wrong way.
maybe.
Yeah, with an acute accent, Bonté means goodness.
Oh, does it? Oh, well, it also means that too.
Yeah, my name actually means the goodness, LaBonté. That's
Oh,
the
now
actual-
my thing, my whole cheeky, borderline offensive.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't have been offensive, but I'll do it. I'll do it with the accent going the other way, and we can maybe save your ass here for a second. Let me see if I can help you out.
Oh, he's probably correct. It's got the accent the other way
I
around.
do my research. Sometimes I get things wrong.
Yeah, I had a moment like that earlier where I had something I was going to say, and then I did a bit more research and went, "Oh, that doesn't apply at all. Fucking scrap it."
Yeah.
No, I can't help you, mate. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about because it's got.
I'll have to look it up again.
Oh,
because
did you not put an accent on the E?
Maybe I didn't. And maybe that's why.
Let me see that. No, that comes up as goodness as well.
Hang on. No, it might wear my computer down to do it. Well, where did I find it?
I don't know, but I like the story you were going with anyway.
Okay, and like the definition was variegated. Pardon me?
Variegated.
Variegated, yeah. Hey, it's me again. Just to let you know what I did wrong. Well, if you ask my parents, they'll tell you everything. Okay, so when I Googled just the word Bonté without an accent, it came up at the top was Google Translator, and that's where I got the definition from. However, what I didn't pay attention to was that it said detected in parentheses Dutch. So it was detecting the word as Dutch, and I've just done a Google search now and Googled Bonté, Bonte, without an accent, translating Dutch to English, and it came up as variegated. So I am not crazy, and I deeply apologize to Bert for getting that wrong. Anyone who listens to this show should know by now that I am a qualified moron, and you can attend my masterclasses online. Anyways, back to the episode.
Well, I'll tell you why I have that on my handle. I was doing a play at Melbourne Theatre Company called Clybourne Park, which is a Bruce Norris play. And it's set in Chicago in 1957 and then set in Chicago in 50 years later. And you play two characters in the play. You play a character in the 1957 half of the play, and then the second act is in the same apartment block. but 50 years later in Chicago, when it's become a lot more prevalent with black families living in that area. The review comes out for the show. I can't remember what it was. I'm pretty sure it was an online review. I can't even remember who did the review. But it started with, I was going through the cast and talking about how people's performances were. And Bert La Bonté, the MTC's go-to guy for roles of colour, was the beginning. And then they went on to say some lovely things. But I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Did you really just write that in a review? And I was like, am I offended? Or am I? No, I'll just use it. I'll put it on my Twitter handle. Yeah. That'll be good.
They literally just called you token.
They literally just called me token.
Yeah, that's why I've taken the piss out of it in your introduction.
Oh, yeah, no, I love it. I'm so glad you did. I've got it on my handles for a reason. You know, I know people read it and I'm never sure whether they're allowed to say anything about it. I'm like, well, I've put it out there, so, you know, please pick it up and run with it. Yeah. Well, look, I've played more roles that aren't of colour than I have of colour, so, you know, I'm okay. It's okay. I'm happy to play the roles of colour because I am of colour. For those of you listening at home who don't know me, I'm black, just so you know. And that's okay. I'm okay with it.
And for the second time in our show's history, we're about to have someone defend Robert Lopez. An actor of color coming on our show to defend Robert Lopez against accusations of racism. Yes. I am going to be the biggest pariah in this world. Everyone's going to accuse me of racism because I'm allowing this. But I don't care because art is art and the writers had context and a voice and we allowed them to.
Yes.
But we are talking about the Book of Mormon.
We are.
Which you played Mafala in the Australian production.
I played Mafala Khatimbi in the Australian production, the Australian premiere. For me, it was a bit of a bucket list kind of gig because growing up, I was a massive fan of
South Park.
South Park and Matt and Trey. All of their work, like not just South Park, just Matt and Trey's work. I loved
Cannibal and
just
Orgasmo.
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys reading my review or what? Can you see my screen?
No.
What the hell?
Carry on. You know, all that stuff, all of their stuff is musical. Like all of their people are like, oh, you wrote a musical, and I'm thinking, what do you mean they wrote a musical? All of their stuff is musical. They write musical all the time.
Their first film was a musical.
That's right.
Yeah.
I understand there have been many folk from the US tours and productions who have come out after they've made thousands of dollars off the back of the production and said that the production is racist and they were offended doing it. I'm like, offended after you left, which is, you can be offended whenever. You can't tell somebody when they're offended. That's 100% okay. And I actually do understand. I understand where the arguments lie in the racism.
Yep.
Yes. If we're going to say black and white, is it racist? Yes. In context and out of context, there is racism within this production. 100%. When they wrote this musical, it was a time when you could use that type of racism for the purposes of comedy because that is what Matt and Trey have done forever.
Yep.
And for not even just with race, with every kind of every religion, every person, no one has ever been left alone. They've gone after everybody.
Yeah. Equal opportunity offenders.
Why I defend this show is because what the prevalent message at the end of the whole thing is, if this is what you need to get through life, that's 100% fine. And it's nobody's business, and it's nobody should be telling you that this is bullshit or this is wrong. It's what you need. It's what you love. These guys have a strange sense of faith, which is like above the level of people who actually go and sit in a church every week. They understand faith better than most people because they understand faith is so malleable and it moves and it whether you pray to Allah, God, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's right for you.
Yeah.
And you need it and it works for you, whether it's physiological or psychological or what, then so be it. Don't let anyone tell you that it's wrong. That's the overriding message of the whole piece. So that's why I think it's genius. It's always been genius. I mean, it's as much offensive to religion as it is race. But if people are a little bit cleverer and cluier, they'd actually realise that the black characters in the show, the African characters in the show, are the smartest characters in the show.
Yeah.
They're driving, they understand what's going on,
Yeah.
and they use it to their advantage.
The white people are morons in that show. From the very start, they're caricatures as much as the African characters are.
So if it's racism in reverse, if it's reverse racism, then sure, yes, it is.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I agree with you that the African characters are smartest.
No, but I agree with you too, and I'm like, if that's what people are offended by, then well, okay, but we've had white people telling all the other races of the world for thousands and thousands of years that they're the smartest and the best and the richest, and they're proving themselves to be very wrong currently as the world stands. If we just have a look around, so I don't know. I think they're genius, and I think it's a piece of genius, and it's a reason that a show like that opened in. I don't know if you ever saw that. There's a documentary of the making of when they first were rehearsing it in New York back in 2000. I want to say maybe 8 or 9 or something like that. And this is the workshop, and they came in and they had this cast of people, and they were doing the workshops, and the interviews with some of the cast. I'm just like, we were there and we're like, okay, sure. And they'd sing the words, and they'd be like, we'll come back in a week and be like, well, none of that will be there anymore. There's no way in hell they're going to be able to do that. And they come back, and it's worse, and there's more. and we just kept coming back to these workshops, and we kept going to rehearsals, and then before we knew it, we're at first preview, and we were like, we're going to do this in front of an audience. We're going to do this in front of people. I'm like, yeah, that would be frightening in America. That would be frightening.
Yeah.
In America, yeah.
And there was many cast members who were frightened that people were going to threaten to bomb the theater and have threats and protests, and then it just went bananas. I saw it in 2013 in New York, and I remember being in there and struggling to breathe, because the rolling laughter constantly, because it's happening in front of you, and you're watching. It's about that thing like when you said you saw that band. It's like you're looking around, you're watching the audience thinking, how is everyone reacting? You can't hear whether people are laughing because you're laughing so loud yourself.
Yeah.
And then you realize that everyone's doing the same thing, and you're like, how is this possible? I won't repeat the lyric, but fuck you, God, in the I'm like, how did you possibly get away with putting that on stage? And the reason is because of Robert Lopez.
Yeah.
They wrote a flat out, balls out musical in its purest form of a musical. With every form of song is memorable. It has structure. It's musical theatre, old musical style musical theatre as well, not modern musical theatre. It's got a few rock ballads in there, but it is a classic musical in every sense of the word, with incredible dance numbers and great characters. But all the content is where the issues lie. Yeah, and that's how they get away with it. Yeah, because they wrote the perfectly structured musical with whatever they wanted to say in their message. So I think it's a piece of genius.
It is. I actually took my conservative mum, on Easter Sunday, and she was doubled over crying with laughter when that book got shoved up his ass. And she didn't realize that that's what we were laughing at. She turns to me when the x-ray was up on the wall, right? She turns to me and she goes, "What's everyone laughing at?" And I just pointed at it. And yeah, she was on the floor when she saw that, but the whole show she was just crying with laughter. And this is a woman who is 70 something years old now, doesn't swear, but she watches RuPaul's Drag Race religiously now. She's binge watching it, so it's a new world we're living in, seriously. But yeah, no, I took her deliberately on Easter Sunday just as a shits and giggles thing for myself.
Yeah.
Knowing the content that was in it. And it's not just a matter of saying these things. That C word was sung very, very loudly. Very loudly and passionately at the end of that. So, which I have a question for the religious performers.
Oh, there were tons and tons in our cast. Like most of the North Americans that came over were God-abiding, Christians, and I actually we had those discussions. I'm like, how do you? I mean, I had one of our female cast from America. Her father was a minister. Her family were over. They came over and they came and saw the show. They hadn't seen it in America, and they saw it in Australia. I said, how did they go? She said, they loved it. They thought it was great. They thought it was funny. And they understand that they understand what it's doing.
Oh, good. It's satire.
It's in its purest form.
Yeah.
And they can reconcile themselves with saying what they say on stage because they're playing characters. They're not playing themselves. It's not Bert. It's Mafala Hatimbi. And, that's where there's always got to be 5% of your brain that is the human, not the character, because if you're 100% in character, you're dangerous.
That's a shout out to Daniel Day-Lewis. So that was terrible. Oh, well, did a priest ever come in and bless the theatre
I don't think so.
or exercise it?
I don't think so. I don't think we ever had that. No.
Well, Evan, as Team Musical, I know you weren't too familiar with this, so
Team Metal.
sorry, did I say Team Musical? Sorry,
You did, yeah.
Team Metal, and you had to listen to it.
Yeah. So yeah, I was aware of it. I've always wanted to see it and missed it when it came because it has been to Perth, and that you would have been in that show.
No, I did Melbourne and Sydney. I did 2.5 years from Melbourne and Sydney, and then I'd had enough.
Yeah, we get the big stars in Melbourne and Sydney, and wons the shows go to Brisbane, Perth, or Adelaide.
No, I got to say, most of the cast
Oh,
were still in Perth. Yeah, there was a
Oh,
lot
really?
of the cast that stuck around.
Mafala was smart and stayed home.
I had done 803 performances, and that was enough.
Oh wow.
That's a slog.
That is a slog.
Again, you guys have been reading my screen, I swear. So yeah, this Book of Mormon, Trey Parker, Matt Stone, Robert Lopez, who apparently was snatched from Avenue Q, which is another one I have seen or listened to.
And also has been defended on this show against racism.
Yes. All right. So yes, I've always been a huge fan of Trey Parker and Matt Stone. I've been watching South Park since it was on late night SBS from season 1. Been avidly watching it ever since. I find them both hilarious. I will watch anything that they put out. Obviously, I've seen Orgasmo, Cannibal the Musical many times, which both heavily feature Mormons. So this show really was inevitable. It was a given.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, but I do have a real problem with this musical in the fact that why aren't all other musicals half as good as the Book of Mormon? It's achieved something no other musical I've had to listen to so far has come close to doing, in which it tells the full narrative within the lyrics. Most musicals so far that I've listened to will ramble along and the character will go on about he's sad about something, and they'll sing for 4.5 minutes about being sad, and 4.5 minutes later all that's progressed is the fact that he's sad. And nothing's moved forward. They've just sung about a moment in time and then, shoved a play in between. Matt and Trey have managed to advance the story with every song and within the songs rather than just have a play broken up by music. This production you can actually listen to start to finish and not just get the gist of it, but it tells the whole story in song. Each song is relevant, each song is necessary, and this is ignoring the comedy, ignoring how funny as hell this is. Everything about the music itself is brilliantly done. The arrangements, the key changes, the structure of the songs, the use of ensemble. It's all incredibly clever. And, I knew they were clever, but this just proves it beyond a doubt. Every song is excellent. There is not a bad song in here. Obviously, Turn It Off is an absolute classic and a favourite, but every song is skillfully crafted, exceptionally sung, and essential for the show. All the performances are brilliant. And touching on your point earlier, this is a musical that knows what it is. It is a big dance number, jazz hands, unashamedly musical. It set out to be a musical and it achieved it. Like every song you could listen to out of context and know where it's from. Even if you're sort of a passing fan, you go, oh, that has to be from Book of Mormon. Each song, they have a theme. They set out to do something and they did it, as usual. And I like the fact that rather than do reprises, even though there are reprises on the album, it's more a callback, which, I love it when comedians do it. Just like the maggots in my scrotum line. I saw that coming a mile away. It was still piss funny when they did it, and I'd be upset if they didn't do it. I'm going, hang on, it's getting near the end of the album. He's due for one more. Mm-hmm. They've got to finish it. And sure enough, it came.
I think that was based on a true story. I was reading there was something...
More than likely. Well, everything they do is based in a factoid somewhere.
Yeah, they kind of do.
Oh, yeah. Well, all the statistics throughout the show that are spruiked are spot on, and nothing that they say from the book. Obviously, Elder, my God, I only did it for 3 years. Elder Price and Elder.
You mean Cunningham?
Yeah, he makes up some stuff, but the rest of the stuff is just like it's all factual. It's all based on fact, and
I think the planet thing's made up too, if I remember correctly.
Which one?
Mormons have their own planet or something.
Yeah. All that stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what you get. After you die. Yeah, your
own planet. Yeah,
your own planet, and
Yeah. But even in Cannibal the Musical, they were traveling west with Elder Young. This musical was coming right from the very start. It's been in the back of their mind all along.
Long time ago.
And of course, once again, there's no bloody pro shot,
No,
which is a travesty.
I know.
And I did read an interview somewhere that there is a pro shot sitting in a drawer somewhere. It needs to be released.
Really?
Yeah, they did do one. It's just sitting somewhere. But they're still, trying to put the show on.
The Lincoln
So-
Center, right? Sorry to cut you off. Lincoln Center always film for archival purposes.
Yes.
And they also do promotional footage, but the archival footage is not necessarily for public consumption.
Yes. No, I did actually see, I did a bit of hunting around. I did actually see, apparently there is a pro shot sitting in a drawer somewhere. I think it needs to be released. This piece of art shouldn't be allowed to disappear. It's not fair to the general public. It's not fair to the history of musicals. Matt and Trey have been plugging away at this kind of thing for years with Orgasmo, having a good go at Mormons, obviously Cannibal the Musical. Even before South Park came along, they were originally juxtaposing Mormons in unlikely situations, porn stars. But then with South Park did a Mormon episode showing that it's funnier just to let Mormons be Mormons doing Mormon things.
Being nice to people.
Yeah, they win by just being nice. Yeah, South Park itself, as you said earlier, South Park itself is full of some masterfully crafted songs, big dance numbers and clever lyrics that have been littered all throughout its history, and that all accumulated here with their opus, the Book of Mormon. I have to break the rules. I'm giving it a 6 out of 5.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
wow.
This is easily the greatest musical ever written. In my short history of listening to musicals, I only have a small sample size, but
You do.
oh my God, it's good. And it's good structurally, musically, ignoring the comedy. It is amazingly done. I could not speak any more highly of it.
This is your 4th episode, and already you have
I know.
not just gone to 5 stars.
Well,
you've
there is a reason.
gone to 6 stars. Isn't that a bit too soon? Typical straight man coming too quickly.
There is a reason why it is the highest selling musical of all, highest grossing musical of all time. The Cast album got into the top 3 albums, something like that. They broke records all over the place, and there's a reason for it because it is so good.
Until Hamilton came along.
Really, has Hamilton made more money than this?
Probably, yeah.
I think it would have by now, yeah. But it'll probably slow down now because of COVID, because it's had a long time off. So, yeah.
It has, hasn't it? But Hamilton prices are also twice as much as Book of Mormon prices.
Yeah,
so the demand is twice as great.
But yeah, and funnily enough, at the end of the end of my review, I've just put a note of infant rape. Like, yeah, we need to discuss the there is some topics in there.
It was the one bugbear for most people that saw it was that moment, and it's like,
Yeah, and yeah, I do a bit of a bit of research, and of course, there's facts behind what they're addressing.
it's the truth. So in that part of the world, when they were diagnosed with AIDS, they honest to God believed that if they had sex with a virgin, their AIDS would disappear. That was the theory. And the only virgins that were around that weren't young women were babies, so they would have sex with babies or young children.
Yeah, well, I mean that myth itself is actually goes worldwide and goes well back to something like the 16th century. They would believe that sex with virgins would cure whatever ailment you might have.
Whatever ailment you've got, yeah, and all based in the back of religion.
Yeah,
but and I know, like, it's another one of those ones where it's like, I know why people. I mean, absolutely, when you hear it, it is just like, it's shocking. But A, the character never does do it. But also B, that's the reality of that part of the world at that time when they were going through those things. And if you don't want to hear that, it's, for me, what it is it's middle class culture and society going, oh no. I'm like, well, oh yeah, that's actually what's going on in the rest of the world.
Yeah.
You're sitting here very comfortable in your $165 seat in the theater.
Yeah.
And you're shocked and appalled by it because someone said it out loud, but you've been happy to bury your head in the sand and not actually ever, read into it or look into it ever before in your life. So,
you're not getting on a plane and going over there.
You're not going to help out. You're not going to work in a missionary. So don't judge. Just listen. And be appalled, 100% be appalled, but you can't be offended because you don't live it.
Yeah, and that is classic South Park, Matt and Trey sort of style of they'll want to point at a topic that they believe should be highlighted, and then will make a joke about it while they're at it, but clearly shoving it in your face and going this needs to be addressed and looked at, and if this is how that we get our message out, then this is how we get our message out, by putting it in a comedy or putting it in a musical.
And to their credit, they went to when they got to Uganda, and they went to which town did they go to? They went to a part of Uganda where they wanted to base the show, and it was a little bit too Western. It was a little bit too it was doing better than they expected, where they thought they were going to base the show on their previous research. So they went further west, and they found, it's not called Kitgali, but they named the place Kitgali, but the place it was based on, they found a little city and a little town, and that was where they saw the degradation and the stuff. And they're like, but the way people live, they just live day to day, and they're not really. I mean, there's violence. There are the guerrilla gangs that come around and rape and pillage and do all that sort of stuff. But the actual people are quite happy people. They've got nothing. They've got just what they've got with them, and they get by, and they're not upset, and they're not angry, and they but they're always on the edge that something bad could go wrong any time. It's like, wowzers. They did their due diligence. And they went and looked at all these places, and they went there and they had a look, and their research is pretty extraordinary.
I must say, one of my favorite parts was that dead cow that got dragged across the stage. I don't know why.
No, I love it too.
So funny. It was so funny.
I love it too.
Okay, so see, I still haven't actually watched it. I'm holding out to. I respect this that much just by listening to it, that I'm holding out for it to maybe one day come back.
Oh, I think it will.
Yeah,
and or have an opportunity to go and see it.
The tour in WA, I think, was cut short, I've got a feeling, because of COVID. They were supposed to go to Brisbane from there, and then Brisbane. No, it didn't. No, they did Perth, they did Brisbane, and then they got to New Zealand, and New Zealand got cut short. But it was due to come back to Australia and do more of Australia.
Oh, cool. I'd love to see it again. I'll take my nephew. He's 11.
I did read they're still trying to put it together, but people keep closing borders.
Yeah,
that's a diggy boy.
Tell me about it. No, that's terrible. I was listening to that song the other day while watching the swimming, and we kept losing races. And I'm thinking it's because I was listening to Book of Mormon at the time. So sorry to the Australian swim team. That was my fault that you lost that day. But one bit I absolutely loved was the Spooky Mormon Hell Dream. Obviously, the whole song and everything going on, and all that, Johnny Cochran and all these characters coming out. But what I loved about it the most was that set looked like a scene out of South Park.
That song was literally in there as it's like a mini episode of South Park.
Yeah, so I'm right, like that. The set design, like the arches that you had, everything. When you looked at that, the first thing I think I said it out loud. Holy shit! It's South Park on the stage, because it was visually perfect.
It felt like it was literally a mini episode of South Park. That song. It was fun to play, fun to do. It was hard work. That song for the ensemble was one of their hardest moments in the show. Late in the show, and physically one of the most demanding to dance and sing at the same time. Yeah. So they would come off, and 2.5 years in, they were still absolutely gasping at the end of it. And normally you get what's called show fit, and you show fit, that's fine, but it doesn't. That song never got any easier, ever.
Wow, that's sort of not at the end either. It's right in the middle of the show.
Yeah. It's,
or at least in the second act.
Second act, halfway through the second act. Yeah.
Speaking of the second act, I do have a slight problem with it, because as I've talked about many times before, I'm quite antsy and I can get bored during ballads. I feel like the 3 songs in a row, even though they're played for comedy, they're too slow for me.
Yeah, right.
So I end up skipping from I Believe, and I'll sometimes listen to the Baptism, but I'll typically come in at Joseph Smith, American Prophet, because I mean that number itself and the way it played out in the show, where they're my godfathers, where they think that they're telling the Book of Mormon story, and they're not. And the officials
Yeah,
are
that's a
mortified
classic.
or whatever, and then they all start fucking, and oh my godfathers, that's just
And put strap-on cocks.
Oh, your magical fuck frog. Oh god, I was pissing myself.
yeah. Well,
laughing
it's
at
funny
that.
though, because you said to
Yeah.
me that people are always trying to tell you what the writers are trying to say with this show. So what were they trying to say with frog on his clit face? Because that lyric has come from the same place that gave us My Fair Lady, The King and I, Guys and Dolls. Frog on his clit face. I love it. Absolutely love it because it's so outrageous. And it comes from the same place that gave us the classics.
The classics.
You know, it's just a sign of progress and the ballsiness of these guys who I don't watch South Park anymore, but I did when I was younger. But that movie, South Park Bigger Longer Uncut, is brilliant.
Yeah, I
it's
agree.
Absolutely brilliant, and I think it won an Oscar.
Oh god, that's going back a bit.
Yeah, 1999, I think it was 2000 or something like that. Alrighty, I think we can close the Book of Mormon and say hello to a commercial break. Back in a moment. G'day listeners, Aaron here. While you're topping up your coffees, did you know that you can support our show and go on a fantastically scary adventure at the same time? Go to www.thetonistonTales.com/bookstore to grab your copy of The Toniston Tales, a darkly funny Aussie trilogy about a young boy who rescues injured animals in his spare time and the roller coaster ride he's taken on by a literal fish out of water. Written by me, the village idiot of Thrash and Treasure, you'll come to love Toniston Turnbull and the dozens of wacky characters that he meets along the way. And here is a sneak peek. Crack, thud, the human trips over the uneven ground as the Twanimal blows out the lantern. Watch your step, Cubpaw says a little too late. Why did you put the light out? Bollycosh, an open flame near hay bales? And here I thought you were smart, sir. Toniston agrees with how silly he must have sounded. What are we doing out here? The boy asks as they blindly walk around the side of the house, where they're greeted by giant shadows rising up above them. Unable to properly see in the pitch-black darkness, Toniston presumes they are the 3 hay bales. He looks around. The plains are vast, and the spotlights out in the distance, now a purple colour, seem to be too far away to bring any real light to them. They do, however, look very pretty dancing on the rippling oceanic sky. Stand back, the silhouetted Cubpaw warns with his gruff but friendly voice, clearly able to see in the darkness better than the human, who had constantly refused to eat his carrots. Grab your copy of The Toniston Tales from thetonistonTales.com/bookstore today. Hooroo! Now, I would like to know why, and I know you're not responsible and you are not the go-to guy for Roles of Colour. However, why have we never had a Dreamgirls tour of Australia with yourself, Kurt Kansley, Casey Donovan, Prinny Stevens, and Paulini?
I couldn't tell you.
Well, I'm putting it out there now. I want it.
Yeah, I think there was talk of Dreamgirls coming, but I think
please, can you follow me on Twitter? You're the producer in the UK. Bring it to Australia, please. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it's I couldn't tell you. I think there's been talk about it before and since. And look, now, I mean, that's a wonderful cast that you put together, but you could cast the show several times now in Australia. We've got the amount of emerging talent.
I know, yeah.
Particularly coloured talent coming out of the musical theatre schools is unbelievable. And, you know, it's gone through a real sort of restoration, I want to say, you know, where you're now not just looking around going, well, who are we going to get for this show? We can't do this play because there is so much talent, you know. And Hamilton is a perfect example. Like the cast that they put on stage, an all-Australian cast to be put on stage with that level of diversity is phenomenal. And it wasn't even that hard. No. Like they had a lot more people to choose from as well. So, and I think they hit a very young cast, but I think they hit it really well. I think they smashed it, in fact. And I think it's, you know, credit to them and the industry, which is great because the more young people that see more people like themselves on stage feel like that's achievable, and then more emerge, and that's where we get to. And we get to, our stages and our screens starting to look a bit more like what the supermarket looks like.
Yeah.
As opposed to everyone thinking that the entire country looks like home and away, because it doesn't.
No.
They have tried to change a little bit, but it's still pretty white.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's their demographic. They, the Brits want to see suntan people, and that's the only people that are watching the fucking show. So that's fine. They can have them. Mind you, we have the best tan.
Yeah.
I don't see the sun at all. I work nights.
Yeah, right.
I work nights. I haven't seen the sun in good 25 years. My wife comments, that's why my skin is so nice and soft and supple.
So that's good. A thrash metal man who's very sensitive, who has very sensitive skin. I can see it. You might rash up in the mosh pit though, mate, if it's too sensitive.
Your background's Mauritian.
Correct. My parents are from Mauritius. They've been here. They came out in '67, Mum and Dad. Right as the White Australia policy was shut down by Gough, they came out. So
Yeah.
literally when the gates were opened, they came.
Awesome. I was at a 50th anniversary of the independence of Mauritius.
Why?
Because I got maybe about 5 or 6 friends from there that I've made over the years, and I was very drunk and made my way, and they were celebrating their 50th anniversary, so I decided to celebrate with them.
Oh, I'm born here. Myself, my 2 older sisters, we're all born.
Yeah,
we're all born in Oz, but Mum and Dad have been here since '67, and we've had a great life. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Anyways, now
I was going to say, have you ever managed to travel?
Yeah, I've been. Look, I haven't been there for 20 years, but I've been twice. But my eldest, I've got an almost 18-year-old and a 13-year-old, and they're both like, Dad, when are we going to Mauritius? I'm like, yep, we're going. And I'm married to an Australian. My wife's Australian. When I say Australian, 8th generation. Good convict stock. I think the first and second fleets, her family came out on. So all thieves, all thieving bastards.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking to go at some point, but we were supposed to be in New York and then potentially coming back from New York to Mauritius about 18 months ago, but that all went to shit, obviously. So we'll just wait and see how the world pans out over the next couple of years, and hopefully we'll get there at some point.
It looks bloody gorgeous.
It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. I mean, look, it's third worldy in parts, but it's true. It's very paradisical. Like it's absolute paradise, and the beaches are crazy. But it's tiny. It's friggin' tiny. You can get across the whole place in a day. Yeah, you can drive across Mauritius in one day. So
Mm-hmm. Now, okay, so obviously you've taken part in some of our biggest productions with Book of Mormon, and you're in the Guys and Dolls tour. Now, what has been your experience with standing ovations? Because we've had an ongoing discussion on this show, and I found that Americans are giving slightly different answers to Australian guests, because in America, they're very...
they expect it all the time.
They expect it, and the audiences think it's given. Have you noticed this change in Australia?
It depends on the show. I feel like we got a lot of standing ovations from Mormon. Not every night. Not every night, but we got a lot, because the way I put it is, in America, yes, they stand. They expect to be stood for, and the audiences stand, and it's courteous, it's respectful, it's what they do, right? Yeah. If you come to Australia, that's not the way we do things here. If you earned it, we'll get up. If you didn't, we still it doesn't mean we hated the show, but we just didn't think it was fucking amazing. Yeah. And if we think it's fucking amazing, we'll get up. And that's what we do in Australia. So when an Australian audience stands, it was really good. Yeah. Except for opening nights, because we do stand on opening nights to say, congratulations, well done, you got the bloody thing up.
And thank you for my free tickets.
Yeah, and it's a huge achievement and all that sort of stuff. And so we stand on opening night. But mid-season, if it's no good, I'm not standing up for you. I know how hard it is to do, but if you didn't nail it, you didn't nail it. And that's okay. That's okay. That's the beauty of theatre. You're not always going to smash it out of the park. And that's why I think if you stand for everything, then you just muddies the waters of what's good and what's really good.
Thank you.
What's shit.
Yep. I tell you what, every Broadway legend we've had on the show has said exactly this, that it has diluted it along the way, that you guys want to feel like you've earned it. not
Absolutely. So in Australia, particularly, I do a lot of straight theatre as well, a lot of just plays. And so if you get an audience to stand for a play, well, hallelujah, like you've nailed it, because they don't stand very often for plays.
No.
Like, it's much harder to get an audience on their feet. Opening nights, even they reluctantly stand if you come back out for a third round of bows. Reluctantly, they'll get up and go, "All right, yes, you got it on. Well done, you." But I agree. I don't think they should stand unless they feel compelled to stand. And that's why occasionally you'll get in Australia, you'll get like, pockets of 10 and then 20 over there and like a whole row there or some at the back, not the entire audience, because those people were genuinely compelled and moved, and some of the others just really liked it. And then some people just can't be asked.
Yeah.
They're like, we've fucking sat here for 2.5 hours. I'm too tired. I'm not standing up for you.
Yeah. I paid to be here.
They're
paid to sit here.
They're running for the toilets at any point.
My favourite is when you think people are standing to give you an ovation, they're actually just heading to the car park to get out as fast as they can. Because they want to beat the traffic out of the car park at the Arts Centre.
Yeah.
That is our favourite. I tend to wave at them as they're leaving. Like, I love that. It's kind of like, oh, look, I feel you. It's like being at the MCG and you want to get out real quick, because why the fuck you would drive and park at the MCG is beyond me. But it's very similar.
Yeah.
See, I go the exact opposite. At the end of a show, I'm quite happy to put my feet up and just wait around for everyone else to piss off.
Everyone else to go.
No, I'm going to take my time and have an easy run out. I thought I'd turn my phone off.
Yeah. Now, just on the Arts Centre, one of the shows I had seen you on there was the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, which was probably one of the most solid casts of Australian musicals I've seen, that had Marina Pryor, Tyler Copen, Magda Zubansky, I believe it's correctly pronounced.
Correctly pronounced. Well done, Zubansky. Very good.
Thank you very much. I also say Mount Kosciuszko.
Yes.
And Hawaii is the correct term for Hawaii. Oh, okay. So can you tell our listeners what exactly syzygy is?
Oh, shit.
Since it starts off the show.
Syzygy. I can't remember. I can't remember the meaning of syzygy. Syzygy. I think I can spell it. I think so. Syzygy. Syzygy.
Very good. We have a winner, as I say at the start of that album and show. It's the alignment of three celestial bodies. So the Earth, Moon, and the Sun.
That is correct.
All together. Syzygy. Yes. So I thought very heavily about what stupid question from Putnam am I going to ask you?
That's a good one.
Thank you very much. If we were in an alternate dimension, what would your other self be doing instead of acting and blowing our minds with that friggin' voice?
I'd be playing sport of some kind. I had a crack at playing AFL when I was younger. I made a supplementary list for North Melbourne when I was 15.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was okay. I was good enough to get on that list and run around with them for 8 to 10 weeks. But you quickly discover that there are 800 other kids at the same level as you, and you need something a little bit more special, a bit more sparky. Yep. To make it an elite sport, it's not dissimilar to what we do for a living. There are hundreds of people trying and attempting, and most of them are good, like really good, and some of them are excellent.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are the elite, and it's hard to stay there as well. You might do 2 or 3 incredible performances, and then you get cast on a whole bunch of things, and everyone's expecting you to get to that level every time, and you don't, or you don't have it in you anymore. You peaked really early, and your career kind of peters out. Similar in sport, you may have a season of unbelievable football, and then you can't ever repeat it again. There's a guy who won a Brownlow medal and never got even close to that form. Shane Wade, not if anyone follows the footy, but he was going to be one of the greatest players in the history of the game. Won a Brownlow very early in his career, and then I think the pressure got to him and he's kind of fizzled out, really. And I feel like it would have been sport for me if it was going to be something else. But I have so many similar pathways with both of those things that I've done in my life that I can sort of lean on. But I'm really happy. I still am obsessed with every sport under the sun. I still play a lot of sports. I still play a lot of tennis and a lot of basketball, and I play golf, and I have a kick of the footy when I can. Both my sons play, so I go and train with them often, and I still have visions of myself, running out for Carlton one day, and I still think it's possible at 46. I still think I can maybe get drafted one day, but no, I love what I do. You would not be in this game unless you loved it, and I've got to the point now in my career where I just want to enjoy it. I really want to kind of sit in it and enjoy it, and not.
Yeah.
I don't stress about work anymore. I don't stress about the job I'm doing, even if it's really hard. I was just on a play which unfortunately got postponed to next year, but
Yeah, I was about to ask about that.
yeah, Raising the Sun's been pushed to next year because of COVID, obviously, in Sydney.
Yep.
Sydney's a disaster at the moment. So, and it is one of those roles where it will be the hardest role that I will play to this point of my career when I eventually do it. Even that was in 2 weeks on Zoom rehearsals, but I loved it. Like it was, but I also enjoyed it. I enjoy that kind of hard work. That's why you do it. Sometimes you do a gig and it's like, I've got the cushiest gig in the world. I've got to do this for 12 months. It's really lovely. I don't have to think too hard about this because I can focus on what else I'm doing. And then sometimes you just want to sink your teeth into the toughest challenge that you can find and see how you go. And that's also the enjoyment. That's the fun of it. That's why we do what we do. If you just want to do cushy, cruisy gigs the rest of your life, then that's great. But I don't think I'd find that very appealing or satisfying at the end of the day. Yeah.
Well, you've just answered 2 questions in one, because I was about to ask what sorts of roles do you stay away from, but clearly ones that are possibly too easy for you.
Yeah, I do. I am in a position now in my career, and I don't say this with any kind of like look at me, but where I can comfortably sort of feel like I can say thank you, but no thank you to some things, and not out of disrespect for the role or the people that are putting it on, just because you don't want an actor who's going to be bored or going to be.
Yeah.
So, and there are plenty of actors who want to do that role and they're happy to just be chill and bored and doing that for 8 months and just earning the coin, and they can have it. Like that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. I'm not judging them for that. Good on them. That's where they're at in their careers. But I'm not there yet. Maybe when I'm in my 60s or 70s and I just want to have a little bit of retirement coin, maybe I'll do those roles. But right now, that's not where I'm at.
You mean the residuals from Pirates Island isn't going to keep you going through retirement?
I don't think it will.
No.
I don't think it will. Fun gig though. Fun job to do.
Yeah. Evan, do you have any questions?
Yeah, only, well, you know, you're the musical expert and know this guy's career and everything. And, you know, I have to sit here and frantically research.
You don't.
Well, I like to do a bit. But yes, as playing Mafala in Book of Mormon, you had the honor of delivering the maggots in my scrotum line, which I think is the caps off the whole show. That running gag just...
Was it Mafala?
Yeah.
Who had the maggots?
I hope so.
It's another guy.
It's the doctor.
Oh, seriously?
It's the doctor, yeah. You got that wrong. Your whole question's wrong. You're fired.
No, it's still fine. It's still fine. It was just the fact that you had to learn, or you had to put on an African accent for that role.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I was more wondering, did you have to sit down and learn an African accent? And what other accents do you have up your sleeve from doing shows?
Accents, I have quite a few, and I will not be doing any of them for you.
No, we're not paying you to perform, Bert. I cannot afford your fee.
Unrehearsed on your podcast, but I've got accents are all about your ear. Like you'll find a lot of people in musical theatre do really, really good accents because they have ears that are tuned to music, and so often when you're learning an accent, it's the musicality of the accent where you can pick up the hints of how to do that accent. So musical theatre people are really, and I don't even count myself in that category, as some of the friends who've actually studied musical theatre, they are really good at accents, like really good at picking up the American twangs, Western, like way out west, Russian, all those things, because it's so musical, well, language and sound, they pick that up with their ears because they're singers. I find a lot of straight actors who are horrendous at accents, really terrible. They've got great context. They can dissect the script to within of its life and be incredible, do incredible performances. But their accent work isn't great, so they need a lot more work. You can work with some really good people who give you great exercises to find a place in your mouth to position yourself for those sounds. African accents, I mean, mine was kind of based loosely on sort of Nigerian, even though it wasn't Ugandan. They're not too far away from each other, Uganda, Ethiopia, Nigeria. So I was lucky enough to have a neighbour who was Nigerian, so I kind of just based my accent on him. And occasionally I would get into Eastern Europe. There'd be times where I'd be like, that sounded very like Baltic. It didn't sound anything like I was in Africa. But that's when you're going at speed and the show's going on, once you've hit the first few notes of a show, a show like that particularly, the audience forgives you. If it's the Chicago accent I have to do for Raising in the Sun, it's quite specific, and that you have to really sit in it and sit on it the whole time. You won't get away with messing that up, if you know, because it's kind of part of the core of the character. So yeah.
And certainly with Book of Mormon, I was thinking it'd be a fine line you tread between pulling off a convincing accent and sounding stereotypical. And, they're trying to be tongue-in-cheek, but
that's
you
right.
also don't want to go too far.
You don't want to go too far, but if there's one show you'll get away with it a little bit, it's that show, because you are a representation of an idea of a race. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
It's not. They're almost happy for the integrity of it to be not perfect, because they don't want the audience to believe that these people are Ugandan. They just want them to believe that if you were Ugandan and you lived in this place, this is what your life would be like. So you kind of get away with it a little bit, but everyone worked pretty hard to make sure that they had similar ballparkish sounds. Yep. We had words that we would say that were repeated through the show. We would all have the same tone for those words. We'd have the same phonetic sounds for those words, so that we all sounded like we were from the same region. And then everything else is kind of up for grabs. But if there was words that were repeated often, we would say them the same way.
Yeah, cool. All right, now a fun question. Dreamcast your biographical musical LaBonté with an exclamation mark with actors from 30 years ago.
Oh, playing me. Okay. 30 years ago. What does that take us to? That takes us to 1990.
The 80s.
Takes us to 1990.
Oh, shit, it does too. It takes us fucking 1991. Oh my God.
In that case, I'll just have Denzel. That's fine. That's easy. To play my wife, I would have Julianne Moore.
Yeah.
Who else would I have to cast?
Who else would there? Your MTC director, since you're their go-to guy, apparently. So I don't know who would be your most common MTC director.
It would have been probably, I've done most plays with Simon. So who would play Simon Phillips?
Yep, Simon Phillips. Yeah.
From 30s, who would play Simon Phillips? It'd be somebody like I don't know. Maybe.
Well, if you don't get cast by him again, you know why.
Russell Crowe could play, because he's a Kiwi. Simon's a Kiwi, so 30 years ago he was a Kiwi. So yeah, Russell could play.
Cool. All right. And now, what's one performance from your youth that you would want a second chance at?
Oh, that's a really, really good one.
So from before you were 25, let's say.
I think I would like another crack at, I did a play called Measure for Measure, which was one of the first sort of things I did at Melbourne Theatre Company.
Yeah.
I would love another crack at that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Cool. Like looking through your stage, like Ozstage stuff, I've noticed that there's not much in terms of revivals. You seem to do a lot of original stuff, which I think is fantastic. Guys and Dolls was probably the only.
Yeah, it was but even then it was a UK show that came to Australia, and we were kind of the original cast for Australia. Marina and Lisa and Magda and Shane Jacobson,
Gary McDonald,
and Wayne Scott Kermond.
Yeah, another killer cast.
Yeah, it was crazy cast. It sounded like it was amazing. It was great to be a part of. Made a lot of great friends from that too. And yes, you're right. I have been really lucky like that. I've been really lucky to have been in a bunch of Australian premieres and sometimes world premieres in this country. And I put it down to I've been lucky in my career as well. But at the same token, you create a bit of your own luck. You've got to sometimes what you know and who you know or who you've worked with gets you in the door, but what you know kind of keeps you there. And I feel like I come across as being very laid back and lackadaisical and not non-caring, but like my heart rate doesn't get above 60 when I'm working. But I care infinitely about this industry and the work I do, and I know that directors I work with know that I care about what I do, and I think sometimes I've just been cast in shows not because I'm the best candidate for the role or I'm the best actor, but because they like having my energy in the room. Like literally, sometimes I've got the gig over somebody else, maybe because it'll be fun to have him in the room, even if he's not perfectly suited to the role. We'll make it work. So I guess that's why I've kind of had a really solid, steady career, and I could not be more thankful and grateful for it, because I know how tough this game can be, and and in the last 18 months it's been extraordinary, and I've worked a lot in the last 18 months, like more than I could have imagined I would be during a really shit period.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't, I've not told people what I've been doing in the last 18 months, because it's been so hard for so many people in the industry. It's I'm not going to walk around going, oh, and I've got this, and I'm doing this.
Yeah.
That's just not helpful to anybody. You know what I mean? So, but I do treasure the fact that I have been lucky enough to continue to have a solid career, and I look forward to one day just easing off a little bit. I feel like I'm already starting to ease back a little bit, just picking my things a bit more, because I also, what COVID has taught a lot of us is that there are so many more things that are important in life than just work. And as performers, we chase so hard all the time. We're like fucking dogs, just give us
I was actually going to bring up your involvement in the Victorian Active Benevolent Trust.
Oh, look, I'm not. I am active in the sense that I'm a massive supporter of them, and I help them whenever I can. There are people that work behind the scenes way harder than me for the Benevolent Trust. But anytime they ask me to do a video or a recording, or take a photo in a t-shirt, or do the bucket rattles at the shows and do the speeches, 100% I'll put my hand up. We closed a show three nights early just 2 weeks ago at the Melbourne Theatre Company, because COVID struck and we had to go into lockdown, and we're on our last week, and the show closed on the Thursday night, and we were scheduled to do a bucket rattle, and the company were like, we don't need to do it if you don't want to. I said, absolutely, we're doing it. This is what it's for. It's for performers who are, and crew and people in our industry who are falling on hard times. This is what the money goes to. Tonight is one of the nights we absolutely need to do it. I was doing my normal bucket rattle speech, which is littered with stupid old people gags, and it's, fold your money up and put it in the bucket for us. That's really handy, and that sort of stuff. And then I just said thanks to the audience for being there, and I just lost my shit. I just got super emotional, because I realised how long it had been since we'd been on stage, and the fact that it was cut short again, and we were going back into lockdown, and how wonderful these people had been. These people in the audience, because they're big supporters of the company, and they have always supported the Benevolent Trust and supported us. And I realised I was speaking to them, saying thank you to them. And I remember just getting super emotional and thinking, oh, what are you doing? This is not what I do. And turns out it had a really, really good effect. We made a shitload of money that night from the bucket rattle. Nice. So I thank them all very much, but it wasn't my aim, but it obviously it worked, so that's good.
Just kind of wondering how it was going, because I'm looking at the YouTube channel, and you've got like John Wood, spruiking the bucket rattles, and it's only got 55 views, and the YouTube channel has only got like 5 subscribers.
Yeah, that's the thing. They don't have an online presence, and the thing is, the world's gone into digital media, and you need to push the digital media. So you need somebody to come on and just go, right, we're going to take this and put it online so everyone can see it. And if people know about it, then they'll go. But
they certainly need more promotion, and they need more promotion, and for the work that they do, and the people that they're helping.
Absolutely.
No, we are done. But that's across the board. The Australian industry is not spruiked enough online.
No, you're dead right.
It needs to be. And we were talked about it the other day. There's not enough cast albums. Even if there are maybe 10 on there, there's 1,000 Broadway ones. Let's get them recorded, put out on digital. You don't have to do a physical CD. Let's get our artists out there. They're absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. And you could do the whole recording in less than a week.
Yeah. And the fans will come, because they lap this shit up. If we had done an Australian Book of Mormon recording, whether it was live or whether it was studio recording,
totally,
all those names would be out there in the public consciousness. And the fact that it is not drives me nuts. But anyways, thank you so much,
mate. Guys, it was such a pleasure. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me on. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for coming. Congratulations on your career so far, and I hope you have hope that the second half is just as good.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks for your love and support, and can't wait to hear it. It was a lot of fun, mate. Thanks so much for asking me.
Awesome. No worries. I'll take care of your socials for you. If you see some guy come up to you again, that'll be me.
I'll know who you are in this time. I will.
Awesome. Huge thanks to Bert La Bonté for joining us. What an absolute honor that was. You can follow him on Twitter at Bert La Bonté. There's no little ding-a-ling above the E, so you'll see us on our Twitter. We'll post it and link You can find Evan at Crethredo, as I like to pronounce it.
It's Credo, but someone took it, so it's CR3DO.
Be sure to follow us on the social medias at Thrash and Treasure. Click subscribe and like and all that jazz. Leave a 5-star review if you can, or whatever all that stuff is, I don't know. And yeah, anyways, you take care, and we shall see you next time. Hooroo!
Good on you, mate. Thanks. Love you, mate, Evan.
Yeah, that was really good.
Like quicksand!